Welcome to Inspirational Corner. I am your host, Speaker Couture, and today on the program, we're going to continue our lesson from last week on the Passover. We were looking at the secrets of the feast, and in the lesson, I shared with you the 7 feast days, 3 being in the spring and 4 in the fall. I shared with you how I got on the subject, how God blessed my life through studying and observing Yom Kippur, which is the New Year celebration on the Jewish calendar. And during that time, I realized that the secret is in the feast days, that we as a people are required by God to recognize the feast days, and not so much for being ritualistic, but for the purpose of remembering, because this is Passover that we're in right now, and it is the celebration of the deliverance of God's people. And I shared with you that we understand Revelations through looking at the study that we did on last week in the book of Exodus chapter 12. We see types and shadows of what was to come, and they demonstrated deliverance, and then Christ came and modeled it, and so we are to remember the Passover, which is why I took such a lengthy amount of time on last week to talk about the Passover. And I shared with you that the Passover season starts April 14th through April 22nd of this month here in 2014. So you want to be aware of that my whole effort was to raise awareness and to enlighten you on the power that's hidden in the feast days. We're missing a great portion of our blessing and promise from God because of a simple act of neglecting to just remember and to observe the feast days. Now, I shared with you on last week that I did not want to close on the note of the plagues of the gloom and the dooms. I shared with you that the plagues were a type of what is going to happen here in the earth that we live in on a global level. Now, back then, those things happened just in Egypt. But in the book, as we approach the rapture of the church, the close of the church, these things will fall out on a global level. And we looked at the plagues. We saw that in the book of Revelations, that there are the plagues of the frogs, so that's going to come again. We also looked at that there was plagues of the darkness. You know, there was a plague of darkness that hit Egypt that was so dark the darkness could be felt. Well, that's going to come again. And that the blood that was going to cover the earth, that's going to come again. And the massive deaths that will come upon the earth. We saw that happen in the book of Exodus when there was so much death associated with the firstborn. You can read about that in Exodus, I believe it is chapter 11. When God told Moses that there was going to be such a great cry throughout all the earth. And so if you want to understand Revelations, read the book of Exodus, chapter 11, chapter 12, and that's just a snapshot. My brother, my sister, I cannot give you the study of eschatology and the study of the end times in this little bit of time that I have with you. But I could that's just a little snapshot to help you to understand why God set this appointment for us to have a memorial concerning the Passover, that it was to be a feast unto us, a feast day unto us. We read that in the book of Exodus chapter 12, I believe it was Exodus 12:12, Exodus 12:14, one of the two verses. And so that was an order. And we are slack concerning it because of all the rituals, which I explained to you. But you know what? We don't get into all the ritualisms, the legalisms that go with it. But we can remember. We can set aside time to recognize Christ, his sufferings, what he went through as the Passover lamb, how he was bound and bled and died. He, in the same areas that we read about